Hello and welcome to Rotted Reviews, and today I want to talk about the 2020 movie Rent-A-Pal. So, this was written and directed by John Stevenson. It's currently available on most every streaming platform there is, Amazon Prime, Google Play, iTunes, the whole bit. And there were two major things that got me clicking play on this one. The first of which, I'm mostly not ashamed to say, is Wil Wheaton. I saw his name in the credits there. I've always been a big fan of his, and seeing that he was in a horror movie, I kind of had to jump at the opportunity to watch it and review it. But the second thing was the concept. I knew that the concept was generally a man finds his way to having a videotape in which it's kind of a virtual friend and it starts to get out of hand, or maybe there's some other weirdness involved. But either way, it's this man communicating with Wil Wheaton through his television screen. That was enough to get me hooked. But the real question that I had was, does this movie really elevate beyond its concept? Does it actually deliver a full and rich story? Having a concept is great. Having a hook is great. Oftentimes, it makes for a fantastic short film, but if you're actually going to deliver, in this case, an hour and 48-minute long movie, you got to have more to it than that. And the real question was, does this? In my opinion, yes. Absolutely, and more so. So getting beyond the concept and going into what this movie is actually about, we get introduced to the character of David, played by Brian Landis Falcons. And he is taking care of his mother, Lucille, played by Kathleen Brady.
In meadow pools.
I can eat my own goddamn food.
Frantic haste to mother sea. Weather in primitive form.
God damn it, Frank!
Rainstorms in infancy.
Mom, I'm David.
I know damn well who you are.
She has dementia, she's elderly, she can't take care of herself, so he is basically not only her son, but her full-time caretaker. More often than not, any free time that he has, he often spends down in his room in the basement, just generally entertaining himself in one fashion or another. He's also involved in video dating services. Now, this movie is set in the early 90s, so the internet is still in its fledgling years of BBSs and so forth. DVDs haven't been invented yet, so video dating services is still very much a thing, and that's what he is largely involved in, trying to find some human connection. And I think that's something that's really important because that's something that this movie really centers on more than anything else. This is a sad, heartbreaking love story to loneliness and trying to find a connection.
Well, I like being a caregiver. I think I've always had an inclination to care for others because of my father. So I'm hoping to find someone to share that with, someone I can care for. Someone who could care for me.
And in his exploits of this video dating service and trying to connect with VHS tapes and so forth, he finds in a bin at the service, Rent-A-Pal. And sure enough, it really is kind of what the concept sounds like. It's, he watches the VHS. It's Wil Wheaton sitting there in a chair saying, "Hey, I'm here to be your friend. Oh boy, we're going to have some great times together. Oh yes, we are. I'm so looking forward to this. How about you?" It's, okay, it's creepy on its face. And, the real question is this creepy under the surface? This movie raises a lot of questions, and it is great about how it delivers its information. Most notably, I think the big question that was on my mind, and I'm sure is on your mind, just listening to the brief spoiler-free synopsis of this, is this actually going on? Is something going on in this tape with this Andy Rent-A-Pal character in its communication with David, or is David making this up in his head?
Well, my dad, Frank, was a jazz musician, actually. They used to call him FDR. So mostly it was just me and my mom. And she had
No kidding? Moms are so interesting, aren't they? It sounds like you got one of the good ones.
And I'm not going to say whether it even answers that, much less what the answer might be. But what I will say is that the way that this disseminates information to the audience is a very engaging practice and is just a masterful stroke of art in terms of delivering a quality storyline beyond the concept. This takes its time and really fleshes out three-dimensional characters that by all rights in any other movie could easily be chalked up to a one-dimensional caricature. If I could sum this movie up in one word, it would be uncomfortable. It's an extremely uncomfortable movie to watch. It's an extremely uncomfortable movie to sit through, an uncomfortable experience watching the David character go through what he's doing and how it affects the Lucille character and the opportunities that you see to have him rise above things but still be trapped by not just his external circumstances, but the internal jail that he's built for himself. The David character in this movie was masterfully written and masterfully portrayed by Brian Landis Falcons. It's not somebody that you want to be a role model, certainly. It's not somebody that you want to latch onto, but at the same time, I couldn't help it. I couldn't help but feel like I was invested in this character. I wanted him to rise above. I wanted him to find his happiness. I wanted him to press stop on this video cassette. This was a grand expositional piece into the human psyche, specifically of loneliness. And everything about it worked on that level, in my opinion. Not just the writing, not just the acting, but the camera work, the editing, the sound design. The sound design in this one was just phenomenal. Everything about this was brutal and harsh, but it had a heart too. There were aspects of this, filming style aside, because totally different in that regard, but there were aspects of this that reminded me of Henry, Portrait of a Serial Killer, just in terms of how honest and raw that it was. And so now I'm going to go and throw the scores up here. As always, 4 different categories, each one worth up to 25 points for a total possible score of 100 points. And the only other thing that I really want to bring up with this movie is Wil Wheaton. The charisma, the charismatic nature of the Andy character that he brought to the screen was fantastic. It's tough to go too much into his performance without getting into spoilers. I'm really going to be treading very carefully here. The friendship moments that he portrays in his Rent-A-Pal video was phenomenal, and the malevolent, sinister aspects that were brought to the screen were equally as powerful. And the concept of seeing Wil Wheaton in a horror movie was everything that I hoped for and more. And I think that that goes for just about everything in this movie. It's not for all tastes. This is not the easiest watch. This is not, like I said, this is uncomfortable. A lot of people don't like uncomfortable movies, and this absolutely is through and through. But for somebody that just wanted to watch a Wil Wheaton horror movie and was fascinated by the concept and the hook and really was hoping that there was more to it, this movie exceeded my expectations at every single level. And because of that, I highly, highly recommend the 2020 movie Rent-A-Pal. Thank you very, very much for watching this review. I look forward to seeing you on my next one. Remember, next time you want to watch a horror movie, first make sure that it's good and rotted.